Sauce making is an essential skill for chefs. With knowledge and practice, it can grow into an art. Your cooking repertoire must include the making of fine white sauces. In this program, we will introduce you to two of the classic white sauces, velouté and béchamel. In other programs in this series, you may learn about the classic brown sauces, tomato sauce, and emulsified sauces like hollandaise, mayonnaise, and vinaigrette. Velouté and béchamel are grand sauces made to combine with other ingredients to create small sauces. They are also used in soups and other cooking applications. Velouté and béchamel have stood the test of time, but they also lend themselves to contemporary interpretations. Chef Michael Pardus will demonstrate the techniques for making the basic sauces and some variations. The recipes will appear at the end of the program. As with all sauces, the ingredients for white sauces need to be of the highest quality. There are three basic components used in making sauces: the liquid, the thickening agent, and optional flavoring agents. The liquid component is usually stock, although with some white sauces a dairy product such as milk is used. Again, only use ingredients of the highest quality. When a stock is used as the liquid, the kind of stock is determined by the item to be served. Common types of stocks are white veal stock, chicken stock, fish stock, and vegetable stock. A velouté may be made with a chicken stock, but if you know the sauce will accompany a poached salmon, a fish stock is preferred. Quality stocks are made in the following manner. In this chicken stock example, cleaned and rinsed chicken bones are cooked for 4 to 6 hours, and the impurities skimmed periodically. In contrast, fish stock cooks for only 30 to 40 minutes. A rich flavored stock is produced with patience and good ingredients. Its quality clearly influences the quality of the sauce. Common thickening agents are the classic roux made by cooking flour and clarified butter, or more contemporary thickeners like cornstarch and arrowroot. A modern alternative to roux is to create a slurry using a liquid like water or stock and mixing it with cornstarch or arrowroot. We will explain more about these later. A common way to add additional flavor is to use herbs and spices wrapped in cheesecloth to make a sachet. Any number of flavoring choices can be made here. A string not only holds the ingredients within the cloth, but is also used to tie the sachet to the pot for easy removal. Simmer the sachet d'épices and mirepoix, a standard flavoring combination comprised of 1 part carrot, 1 part celery, and 2 parts onion in the liquid for 1 hour before the end of the cooking cycle. Commercial bases are an acceptable substitute for making stock from scratch when time and cost become a factor. When sold in concentrated form, they are reconstituted with water based on manufacturer's instructions. In making a sauce, they are used in place of the homemade stock. Bases can also be diluted before introducing them into a stock or sauce. Depending on the flavor of the commercial base, you may need to make some adjustments to your recipe to achieve the desired taste. Weak stock made from scratch can be intensified with a commercial base. Velouté is a rich, smooth sauce of ivory color and velvety appearance. It is made with chicken, veal, or fish stock depending on the desired end use. Its thickening agent is a pale or blonde roux. These are a few of the derivative sauces made with velouté as the base. To make velouté, first a measured amount of blonde roux is combined with stock. The roux should be at room temperature or cooler while the stock is hot. The difference in temperature will facilitate incorporation of the two items. Since the consistency of the velouté is determined by the ratio of liquid to thickener, be sure all the measured out roux is incorporated into the stock. Here, a small amount of stock is used to help remove all the roux from the bowl. With a ladle that measures fluid ounce capacities, the stock is gradually added. and the two elements are whisked together in the proper ratio. The ratio of stock to roux will be determined by the vellutte's intended use. Thinner sauces use only 8 to 12 ounces of roux per gallon of stock. For the standard medium sauce, use 12 to 16 ounces of roux to 1 gallon of stock. Thicker sauces will require more roux, 16 to 24 ounces of roux per gallon. As you incorporate the stock into the roux, be sure to work out any lumps that may develop. Remember, the two ingredients must be at noticeably different temperatures to combine correctly. A quick refresher on making roux. Different sauces use different types of roux, determined by color. As you can see here, white roux is used for bechamel. Pale or blonde roux is used for velouté. Ladle out clarified butter into a large saucepan. Slowly add flour, stirring to avoid clumping. Work the flour and clarified butter until they are a unified paste that resembles wet sand, and apply a medium heat. The longer the roux cooks, the darker it becomes, from white to pale or blonde to brown. As the consistency and character change, continue to stir. Be careful not to cook the roux past the desired stage or allow some areas to cook more than others. Be aware that the roux will continue to cook for a while just after it's removed from the fire. Both its color and flavor will affect the final sauce. When all the stock is added, bring it to a boil. Then lower the heat to a medium flame. As the mixture simmers, it is a good idea to offset the pot to create a convection motion within the liquid. This will force the impurities to collect on one side of the pot, making them easier to skim off. The sachet is placed into the liquid and the end tied in place on the handle. This is usually done about an hour before the end of the cooking time. Periodically skim off the buildup of unwanted material from the surface of the sauce. A bowl filled with water is an easy way to keep the skimmer clean. Also, check to see that there's no scorching or buildup on the bottom of the pot. The whole cooking process should take 1 hour. Remove the sachet and check the consistency. You can see a thin bead drizzle off the end of a spoon. The best way to check the consistency is to ladle some sauce onto a warm plate and swirl it around. This will give you a good idea of its color and viscosity. Always, the final test, though, is tasting. It should be rich and smooth, not a strong flavor, but with a hint of intended flavor. This medium-thick velouté is commonly used for cream soups and sauces. To adjust the consistency of the sauce for other uses, you would adjust the ratio of stock to roux. For a thicker velouté, add more roux. A common use for this thicker sauce is as a binder. When the sauce has reached the desired flavor and consistency, it must be strained. Strain it through a sieve into a bain-marie for cooling and storage. It is important for you to follow the specific rules and regulations in your locality regarding kitchen safety and sanitation. Place the bain-marie into an ice bath to quickly cool the sauce. The sauce must be cooled to 40 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 hours. To achieve this, the ice and water should be up to the same level as the sauce within the bain-marie. Stir the sauce frequently to disperse the warm pockets and accelerate the cooling. Periodically check the temperature and add more ice if necessary. When the sauce has reached the correct temperature, it should be covered, labeled with what type of sauce it is and when it was made, and placed in the refrigerator. Velouté should be held for no more than 2 days. Modern techniques and ingredients can create sauces that closely approximate the look, taste, and feel of their classical counterparts, but take less time to produce. Because of the ease and speed of making this kind of sauce, small batches would be made, only enough for the day's use. Also, natural starches like cornstarch and arrowroot used as thickeners do not hold up well over time. The chef starts by heating some stock, in this case a fortified commercial base, and brings it to a simmer. Meanwhile, he prepares a slurry. A slurry is usually a cool liquid, whether water, stock, milk, or cream, fully mixed with cornstarch or arrowroot. For this veloute-style sauce, stock is the primary liquid, though milk is included to assist in the velvety texture. A small portion of the recipe's milk and some arrowroot are combined and then slowly whisked into the simmering stock, followed by the rest of the milk. The sauce is returned to a simmer and seasoned to taste. As it simmers, be sure to stir or whisk frequently, since the natural starches tend to scorch easily. The sauce at this stage would be perfectly suited to be a soup base for a cream of broccoli, where all that's needed is the puree of broccoli, cream, and some additional seasoning. These are the makings for poached halibut with a tomato chive sauce, veloute style. Again, because arrowroot and not roux is the thickener, it is not a classic veloute. Shallow poach the fish in a 300 to 325 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 5 to 6 minutes until it is opaque, which means it is fully cooked. Remove the pan from the oven and place the fish on a holding plate. Cover it with the parchment paper to prevent it from drying out and keep it warm. On the stove, add tomato paste. In stages, thicken with the arrowroot slurry. Check for consistency and taste, then strain and serve. Some good choices for the accompanying vegetables are steamed celery root, which have been peeled in julienne, braised miniature cabbage ball, and tourneed potatoes with saffron. The finishing touches are the minced chives and an ounce or two of veloute-style sauce. Bechamel sauce was born 400 years ago. It had probably been around the courts of France before then, but it was dedicated to a financier of the time named Bechamel. It is a milk-based white sauce, using milk as its liquid and white roux as its thickener. First, sweat onions in clarified butter. Don't allow any of the onion to brown. Remove any dark specks or they will affect the final color and taste. An onion piqué, which is a half onion with a bay leaf and clove inserted, is sometimes substituted for the diced onions. When the onions become translucent, add fresh whole milk. Here we used just over a half gallon to compensate for evaporation during the cooking process. The use of fresh ingredients will always have a favorable influence on the final sauce. Over a medium-high flame, heat the milk. Once warm, gradually incorporate the milk into the cool white roux. Whisk out any lumps of roux. Notice we've moved the roux to a pot of equal size where the rest of the cooking will take place. Again, the ratio of liquid to roux will determine the final consistency. Add more roux for a thicker sauce, use less for a thinner sauce. Be sure none of the roux sticks to the bottom. Return to a simmer and add a bay leaf and a clove. Allow this to reduce over low heat for 45 to 60 minutes. Offset the pot over the burner to create a convection flow within the sauce. Periodically skim off the surface buildup. Stir frequently to avoid scorching. When the proper consistency and taste is achieved, strain the sauce through a sieve. If it's a thick sauce, strain it through cheesecloth using the twisting method. Twist the cloth in opposite directions, squeezing out the bechamel, holding back the unwanted material. Since bechamel is a dairy-based sauce, following proper cooling and storage guidelines is mandatory. Place the container into an ice bath, verify the temperature, and store it covered and labeled in the refrigerator. Bechamel should be used the same day it is made. This sauce can then be the base for small sauces, such as crème, aurore, and soubise. A familiar example made from classic bechamel is Mornay sauce. Carefully add Parmesan and Gruyere and stir until the cheese is melted and has no visible lumps. Depending on how the Mornay will be used, an egg yolk may be added to help bind the mixture. Use this rich sauce for a hearty serving of macaroni and cheese, though it may also complement eggs, fish, vegetables, or chicken. As with velouté, there is a modern way to prepare a bechamel-style sauce that will both save time and be lower in fat content. Start by heating some vegetable oil in a pan. Add onions and sweat them until they are translucent. Add skim or evaporated milk to the pan and continue to heat. Add some fresh bay leaf and clove. Just before this is finished cooking, the chef prepares the thickening agent, a slurry. The slurry is made in a separate bowl with cornstarch and a small amount of skim or evaporated milk. This is whisked to a smooth consistency. The slurry is slowly incorporated. The chef slowly pours this into the pot as he whisks the two together. The natural starch and applied heat will quickly thicken the sauce. The milk and onions are removed from the heat and strained through a sieve. Here, we'll continue directly to a low-fat variation of the Mornay sauce. Low-fat grated Gruyere cheese is stirred in as before. Besides macaroni and cheese, this sauce can be a topping for a side of steamed broccoli or cauliflower. As you have seen, the leading white sauces, velouté and bechamel, lend themselves to a wide variety of applications. Review what you have learned. Classic velouté contains white stock, thickened with a pale roux. Classic bechamel is milk-based, thickened with a white roux, and flavored with onion. By using other thickening agents like arrowroot and cornstarch, you may update the classics. And by using alternative ingredients like low-fat dairy products, you may suit more contemporary tastes. Mastering the techniques for preparing bechamel and velouté will enable you to experiment with countless variations and derivations. Build from the basics. In other programs in this series, you may learn about the classic brown sauces, tomato sauce, and emulsified sauces like hollandaise, mayonnaise, and vinaigrette.